First, I must say good afternoon to you and try to speak to you in deliberate terms. I've just returned from Africa Friday, and I excuse me for not pronouncing Africa the way you may do, but then you're a little more articulate than I am. So I only have one way to say Africa, and that's the wrong way. Because I don't care if you spell it with a K or Q, it still isn't proper. The continent of Africa was called by the Greeks. As far as I can research, Alkebulan would be Ortega, Hesperia, Amonis, Libya, Ethiopia. Those names were all used before the name Africa. So I will say that for everyone using them, he or she must have had his particular reason for using them towards the continent. I can't find a way in which the continent was called by the people before the Christian era, except those names that I've mentioned. And in all cases, they're all incorrect. Incorrect because the African people never called the continent a particular name. If you want to say, in the time of the Christian era, or the Common Era, they called it a particular name, I can go along with you, and then we can use Africa. Since there isn't a particular name before the Christian era or the Common Era that the indigenous people of Africa has used for their continent, I will continue to use the word Africa, whether with K. If you want it with a K, I will oblige you. And if you want it with an A, I will do likewise. In either case, you're still wrong. Now, I wrote a few years ago about, in 1972, I think, or 1980 or 82 or something like that, I can't recall a particular time, a small book. And the name of the book was the, if I can recall correctly, it was Cultural Genocide in the Black and African Studies Curriculum. The book, to me, is today as relevant as it would have been when it was written. We have not turned the corner, whether bad or good, against the writings in that particular book, so that if I had to write a book today on education, I would take the name of this book, change the dates, and put it out there. The funny thing, I didn't recognize it, because it's so current that it will be accepted as a new book.
In his lecture, Cultural Genocide in the Black and African Studies Curriculum, Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan delivers a powerful and uncompromising message about the mental, cultural, and institutional enslavement of black people under the system of white supremacy. He emphasizes that as long as black people live within and under this system, they remain slaves to it, no matter their wealth, education, or social position. Dr. Ben insists that many of us have found comfort within our oppression, mistaking material success or social privilege for freedom. He warns that classism within the black community is meaningless when the larger society continues to view all black people, regardless of individual status, as descendants of slaves and members of an inferior race. True liberation, he argues, will only come when black people reject the illusion of inclusion and commit to dismantling the system of white supremacy entirely. Dr. Ben-Jochannan turns his attention to one of the most divisive issues within the black community, colorism. He condemns the internalized racism that causes darker and lighter skinned black people to resent one another, calling it a psychological tool of the oppressor. Dr. Ben reminds his audience that the varying shades of black skin are the direct result of the rape and exploitation of enslaved African women by white slave masters. He argues that no black person can claim purity in complexion or lineage under such a history of brutality, and therefore no one should weaponize skin tone against another. This form of division, he warns, only strengthens the system of white supremacy, as it keeps black people fighting one another instead of uniting to confront their common enemy.
But let me highlight some things about it and detail others. That book was written because there in Brooklyn, there was then with Rudy McCoy and a number of people, including Malcolm's wife, Betty, and I say that with a due respect to her. I want to make that sure because a number of people find to criticize Betty in a very disastrous manner. I can't join them because my knowledge of Betty and respect for her goes beyond that point. So I will not join. That doesn't mean that I disrespect those who find necessary to criticize in the manner in which they do. Betty has since earned a PhD. I don't know, that could be designated quite differently than it really is. For most people, it indicates a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and as I said before, the PhD, but I can interpret it different to mean bachelor's degree. You know what that could stand for. With due respect to all of you, it is bullshit. I know I got it, so. And the master's degrees is more shit. And the PhD is a lot of shit piled high and deep. Now, I do have respect for it because it's a degree given by the master. When you have a master, you must respect your master because at least your master must have something over you in order to hold a position. Nevertheless, although we are the best dressed up slaves you've ever seen, we are that. I mean, you would detest hearing that you are slaves, but then what are you? By virtue of how we submit ourselves and who rules us, we must be slaves. If we want slaves, we will not be ruled by so many white people. And it doesn't matter if they're Jews, Christian, Catholic, atheist, or anything. Let's deal with reality. We are on the plantation. And it is a very comfortable plantation for some of us, and for some of us it isn't. Talk about classes. We can't talk about classism because in reality, whether or not you're a class with a lot of money or you're in the class with no money, you're still a slave. So rather I don't know how you could boast because a car or a better house or whatever, that you have more than the other person like you, black I mean, you cannot boast of your class. The slave is just like, I think that Alex Haley wrote a book, if I am not mistaken by his name. It's called Roots or something. I don't know where he had this roots because I don't know how they can trace the name Haley back to Africa. He said that he had traced his ancestors and a bunch of white folks from Ireland back the west coast of Africa, and I want to know when did they got born in Africa. But Haiti was better than I must say that, because I can't trace my people to Staten Island, and he was able to trace them there. So I pick up my roots back to any way that black people live. But in particular, I will trace them back to Africa. But knowing how silly it sounds for one group of Africans to be telling another group of Africans, I am more African than you. It used to be a time, and I must admit this, one of the errors that Mr. Garvey made. And you know, some people, we speak of Mr. Garvey as if he didn't make errors. He made blunders, major ones. One of the things was to cause a fight between a black-skinned person who was light and a black-skinned people who were dark because of Du Bois. We don't need to ask if Du Bois was light because we must be poor sight not to know that he was. But one of his remarks in response to Du Bois insulting him was calling Du Bois a crazy, mix-up, almost white. Now, what do you mean by almost white? All of us had somebody in our family been raped. I'm using the word advisably, but I don't care how black you are in here sitting down. You had some white person been messing with your family. I don't care how light you are, or how dark you are, or how middle color, if you want to call it. You didn't escape. It was impossible for you to escape. Man, that's why I said, there is no reason that all black people shouldn't hate all white people. I cannot come to you and say, well, I am dark. How dark is dark? And therefore, and that's a shade, it's not a color. Therefore, I am better than the person who's lighter than me, and that's my mother. And then my grandmother is lighter than her. And then if I look hard enough, if I could find one, I might find one much lighter than her. And then I look at another white family, black white family, over there, and make a comparison. When I am finished, all black people that recognize the fact that they are black, I cannot turn down one of them as my relatives. So we want to be clear, because I'm hearing today, especially now on the TV again, about the different characters on the TV and how white one is and how black one is, and all of them are had, excuse me please, as niggers. Let's get it down. That's the way the white man see us, and he hires us because he needs us. Only when he needs us is he going to hire us. And then we, fighting him, fight ourselves. When fighting ourselves, we weaken ourselves, and for each person that we fight in this matter of identification, we are less strong. So I said, every black person who identifies himself as a black person and want to live as a black person is a black person. And I'm not going wrong with a torchlight looking for light-skinned black and dark-skinned black and all kinds of different blacks, like in that kind of thing. Garvey did it, and that was a mistake. It was many mistakes that he made, and I wish to, for instance, the mistake that only Christians could be members of the organization. You could not be a Muslim and be a member of Garvey's UNIA. Nor could you be. Ford is a good example. The man that wrote the UNIA's motto that they had, Harold Ford, left here and went to Ethiopia. Why he left was that Garvey forced him out of the organization, and the only problem Garvey had with him was that he was Hebrew and refused to give up his Hebrewness. I was once Hebrew, I was born in it, as my mother and as my father. I give it up. I don't have a use for it. I don't have a use for any one of them. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they're the same junk. All they do is take money from me either on a Sunday, Christianity, on a Saturday, Judaism, and a Friday, Islam. That includes Farrakhan. I mean, let's talk. I mean, I know a lot of you ain't gonna like me because I hit your man, and that's all right. That I don't mind too. I don't mind you not liking me. I'm not here for love. I get a lot of that in the house. You can ask Gertrude, and why don't get at. All right. Now we get ourselves clear with that understanding, and I must say I wouldn't have been able to write the book before that time because I was confused. I was confused believing that I was Hebrew, and to be Hebrew was something unique because I believe, number one, that the Hebrews had built the pyramids. There are the craziness about it. I had gone to Africa, to Egypt in particular, long before, but I returned and still saying at that time, the Hebrews built the pyramid. Excuse me, you may not understand me. Jewish slaves built the pyramids. And I used to say too, thank you very much, cultural genocide in the Black and African curriculum. Here's a copy. And this seemed to be, yes, this, I must, no, I'm not going to blame you for this. Because you know me, ECA as associates. The man who does this is a thief. See, I like to tell people to say, ECA got no right. They had a contract to print this book. They printed this book, and the first day they printed it to now, it was 5 years ago, up to now he have never given me a penny. And he continues to print it. Every dime he collects from this goes to his pocket. So that's Curtis Alexander. And he still does it to the day, today. So let us say what it is. I like to say just what things are about. This man, I better leave it alone. Yes, I can sue him. I can sue him. I can do a lot of things against him. But I tell you what I have told people and the way that I'm going to continue. I never had much, even when I was a young boy with my father, who was an attorney, and my mother, who was a midwife. And my father was working with the Marcus Garvey organization, Don Aviso organization, when we came to the West and was living in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And we just had enough to do a lot of things, but my father's policy of living with the people, he took his money, like I do, and spent it on different causes. So even at the United Nations, where I make a fairly good sum of money, I never had enough, and I swore. When I moved from the area of practicing law and decided to come in this area, I decided then, regardless of what happened to me by an African person, male or female, there is no way I would carry either one before a white man to be sent to a white jail. So that is the only reason that keeps him from going to jail, and he continues to print it knowing that he would not be sent to jail. Nevertheless, let us start this work, as we were saying. I'm going to pass all the things that he's supposed to do that is supposed to be new. But the book is dedicated to Tari, Eli, Dor, Seti, Alkeb, Ru, and Natal. Tracy, Eleanor, Dorothy, Selwyn, Ruth, Naomi, and Ruth and Naomi are my twin daughters. They are about 44 years old. My adult children and their children, my grandchildren, all of whom have Nile Valley names, present the cultural future of Mother Al-Kebulan, and I got Africa, away from home in the diaspora in the New World. There are a number of listed names here. But what was important to me most of all were the teachers at the time. The white teachers were fighting, listen to this, for black students against black people who allegedly was equally fighting for the same students. The white teachers maintained in Ocean Hill, Bronxville, that they knew more what was beneficial to us than we know about ourselves. And a number of us joined together to struggle against Albert Shankar, who needs to be struggled against still now, and a number of the white teachers, most of whom were Jewish. I want to make it clear, Jewish or not, a white man is a white man is a white man is a white man. And the best one of them is in the local cemetery. So that when we make friends with our associates, I have white associates. I don't have white friends, but I have white associates, people I work with. So there's no how that your white daughter could be reached to the status where I will feel comfortable lying in a bed with her for any reason at all. Because what she could give me, if possible, I could get 1,000 times better in another bed with a black woman. And if I have not tried one, and I'm 76 now, I don't think I'll be trying one anytime soon. I want to make an opportunity. One thing in the book I did was to go to South America and show those South Americans with Van Sertima and others put in their book as supposed to be in part of my family. Let it be clear. If you go to India and you're not dealing with what we generally call Dravidians, you are not dealing with me. I don't care how you look at an Indian, he is not related to me. You see, if I need and looking for friends, I don't need white people, I need that kind of people. I got enough black people that look like all of that. I could find a white black person in my family. I could find an Indian there. So I don't have to go to look for some to say it is my people. I feel quite happy with all the black people, all of you here, I feel happy with. And if others says, should things go bad and my wife should pass away, this will be the first time I'm accustomed to that. And that's why I know God, what to call God or what he or she, if they take my wife, the next wife, within 3 months, I'm going to be married. Yes, I'm going to be married. I'm not going to shack up with her because I respect her. If I meet a black woman, within 3 months, I'm going to marry. I'm not going to lie down in her bed and get up in the morning and leave and come back the next day. If she's good enough to go to bed with, she's good enough for me to marry. See, now you asked me to do this book, you know. And all I'm saying go along with the book. So, see, that's my feelings. That don't have to be yours. And I remember marrying four times. I buried all of them except one. And she would have been here, but she has to visit our new great-granddaughter. She's only 4 months old. So that's why she isn't here. But understanding what we were faced with is a new type of education was demanded by the African people in our community there in Brooklyn, Ocean Hills, Brownsville. Nobody at all decided what we were going to have. We were going to have, we said, a system of education which allowed us to have our children educated. A certain money was allocated, but the money was never in our hands. The money was held down at City Hall and around the corner where the Board of Education was, held by Jews. And then when we need the money, white Jews, because they got black Jews too, we had to appeal each month for X amount of money to be used towards the school children in various districts. That meant that we were not in control. We settled for that. We settled for another thing, busing. I have never seen the bus go from the black neighborhood to any one white neighborhood yet. And it still doesn't. The black bus starts in the black neighborhood and goes to the white neighborhood up to today. That isn't integration. Integration was if the bus pass each other, one to the black neighborhood and one to the white neighborhood, if the integration meant that much. And now you satisfy, you got integration, you don't have a damn thing. You have the bus going to the black neighborhood into the white neighborhood, regardless if the driver is black or white. You have something that proves your inferiority. You go to the white neighborhood and then tell me how much more educated your children are, as if the white school is better. What you have gotten, the same curriculum you had the day before. The curriculum before teaches 3 religions and primarily 2 only, Judaism and Christianity. Now it's gradually taken in Islam. But in what 3 of them? I don't care if now you're going to say that Jesus Christ turned black. He finally got a black paintbrush and paint him. Like in Poland, the one the Pope goes back to. They said that it was a fire. The candles lit the curtain, the drapes down. The drape put smoke on the statue, but the smoke did not touch the white eye, the white fingernails, you know. So that was an artistic smoke. It got to be. It particularly didn't touch the toenails and the fingernails and the eyeballs. That had to be a specialized fire and smoke. And all of those things so far was adopted and accepted as good. We had then learned to be acceptable people. We turned from Negroes and niggers and what else, the jigaboos and so forth, and we became African Americans. But we hadn't changed. Look at the statistics. In any one week in the United States, I am not going to take all the cities in the Union. I will take only Harlem, which even isn't a city, just a part of a city. And any 1 week, you got more than 100 black people who kill 100 black people. Men, women, and children. Maim the others. Most of it from drugs. I know my oldest son is 54 years old. One of the best educated young men there is, and one of the best addict there is. He can tell you the taste of every drug there is. But he's got that education. But he got smart up at Columbia. So smart that now he is an addict. And once in a while, he knows his children. I have to support them. But he's smart. Very smart. You said he went to an integrated school. Columbia University is an integrated school. And he learned drugs at Columbia University. When I wanted to go to a black school, which most of you don't want to go to.
Dr. Ben also draws attention to how white America manipulates and uses black people for its convenience. He explains that white institutions and individuals will employ or engage with black people only when they need specific tasks completed, when it serves their interest. Once their needs are met, those same institutions quickly discard or ignore the black individuals they temporarily found useful. Dr. Ben argues that this pattern mirrors the historical exploitation of black labor during slavery and continues through modern forms of economic dependency and tokenism. His point is clear. As long as black people rely on white institutions for validation and opportunity, they will never experience true freedom or self-determination. Another central theme in Dr. Ben-Jochannan's lecture is the conditioning of black people to turn their aggression inward rather than outward. He describes how, in the presence of white authority or supervision, black people have been psychologically trained to compete, distrust, and even attack one another instead of challenging their oppressor. This behavior, he notes, was deliberately cultivated during slavery and colonialism to prevent unity and rebellion among the slaves. Dr. Ben urges his audience to study history and recognize how the same divisive tactics persist today in workplaces, media portrayals, and academic spaces. The more black people allow themselves to be distracted by internal conflict, the weaker they become as a collective, making it easier for white supremacy to maintain control. In closing, Dr. Ben-Jochannan issues a call to action. Black people must recognize that everything they need for liberation already exists within their own communities. He insists that black people do not need to seek validation, friendship, or guidance from white society. Instead, they must look inward toward their own culture, history, and collective strength to rebuild themselves and reclaim their destiny. By rejecting the comfort of oppression, healing from internal divisions, and reclaiming control over their education and cultural institutions, Dr. Ben believes that black people can begin the process of genuine liberation. His message remains timeless. The road to freedom begins with self-knowledge, unity, and the courage to stand independently from those who benefit from our subjugation.